The Middle East World Economic Forum is actually a great platform to share the best practices when it comes to education, when it comes to financials, and when it comes to different aspects which we are discussing in the world. It's a great platform to be able to build a coordination and also a cooperation between the different stakeholders in the Middle East. And if you think about it, we are discussing about the gloom and doom in the world, and everybody is discussing about how are we able to restore growth, and that's going to be a major issue which we are going to have a discussion. That's part of my aspiration. And if I take a look on the stability which are in the region, there are political issues, there are different of other issues which need to be discussed, which are hitting now the agendas of different governments in the world, hitting the agendas of different boards in the world, and these are some of the topics which need to be discussed and need to be covered. We need to discuss also about the impact of the total financial crisis, what does it mean for the Middle East, and what type of actions are we going to take in order to be able to move out from the downturn which we are and able to create a better future for the people in the Middle East and outside of the Middle East. You have been seeing also the G20 meeting in London, which took place not long time ago. There's been a number of challenges which has been discussed, and there are many questions which has been answered. But still, there are some open questions, and this is a good platform in order to prepare a response to the G20 meeting. So there are a number of aspirations which I have, and I'm really looking forward for a very interactive and creative session. Indeed, the 2009 is very much different than the 2007 and 2008, where there was a lot of money available. And today, with the financial constraints, we see there is a short-term to even mid-term concern about the level of the investments and the mid-term earnings. And on the top of all the challenges which the international oil companies and the national oil companies has been having, whether to deliver jobs on time or on budget and without hurting people or the environment, today you have the challenges about how are you able to manage the cash flows and how are you able to drive down the costs in order to be able to improve your internal rate of return. There is a lot of challenges here, and I think the industry has been very responsive to all this type of challenges. And today, if I take an example, the company which I'm leading, AMEC, we are working very hard in order to work how are we able to unify the tools and the processes which we have, and by doing so we are able to cut down the cost, and that cost we can, let's say, and that the reduction of course we can give it to our clients, and by doing so they can improve on their margins. But we need to be very careful, because if we start to curtail a lot of these investments, we could easily go back to the times which we had in the 80s, and there was also, there's a lot of long-term ramifications if you don't do it in a way, in the right manner and in the right way. We saw in the 80s that the delays has created a big bubble which not everybody has been happy with. And if we are not careful, we are going to repeat the same mistake as we did in the past. And as you know, the industry has been having a shortage of a very skilled and qualified people. And now it has been taking us years in order to build up that working force. And if we're not doing that in the right way, we may take the risk that we'll lose that working force. And then we're making more mistakes than we're actually making benefits. Well, the Middle East, as the rest of the world, will need to do a lot of investment in energy sustainability, in low carbon footprint, in how are we able to improve the energy efficiency. It's the same challenge as it is in the different places in the world. The problem which we are going to have is that if the oil prices continues to fall, it is so easy that we get complacent and we go back to our old habits, and we believe that we can postpone many of these investments, let's say for with 5, 10 and 15 years, and that's exactly contrary to what we should do. I still remember the days when 30 years ago I studied at university, And at that time, they were telling us in 30 years we were almost going to be totally independent from fossil fuels. But today, reality is different. Today, we still depend quite a lot on fossil fuels, and we need to work very much together in order how are we able to burn fossil fuels but without having high emissions. And there are technologies which are able to address these issues. And as you know, many of the countries in the world in their stimulus packages has been announcing about how much of that is going to be eco-friendly actions. And you can see anything from China almost with 34% of their investment, Korea 80% on addressing energy improvement issues, US speaking about 13%. And what we would like to see is that, of course, some of the Middle East countries are coming out with plans in order to say about how they are able to cut down on the emissions and how are we able to have a sustainable energy, but still with low emissions. I see what we are doing in AMEC as a journey. We presented to the market in 2006 our aspiration for the 2008 and the 2010. And I'm very happy and proud to see that AMEC has delivered a record results in 2007 and 2008. Now, there's a question about what is actually making AMEC so special. And I think what is making us a little bit special here is that we have a blue chip customers. We have diversified the portfolio. We have a very good balance between the natural resources and the power and process. We have been making a lot of investments on the renewable side. So as the portfolio getting diversified, as our penetration in the market is becoming wider, we are today in more than 35 countries. We have a very strong customer relationship. All that is adding to the confidence which we have that we are going to deliver on the target which we have set for ourselves for the 2010. Today, we have a very good measurements to tell us about where do we stand and how the journey look forward. And because of that, we have a measured confidence that we are going to deliver on our 8.5% EBIT margin by the 2010. Many of the strong economies in the Middle East, they are depending, of course, on natural resources and depending on export of oil and gas. And of course, with this financial crisis, we see dampened investment in the countries. That we see some projects getting delayed or postponed on the hope that we are getting a better financial situations on a short-term or even on a mid-term basis. And of course, because of that, we see an outbound reduction in investments out from the Middle East. We have been seeing also many of the infrastructure projects has been getting delayed or even stalled, if not cancelled. And we have been seeing quite high inflations in the late years. And I think what we are seeing today is maybe a recorrection of many of the things which we used to complain about, whether it is manpower resources, whether it is expensive materials, and also high inflations. So all that is going through a recorrection, which is in a way is very good for the industry because we have a better base in order to grow for a better platform. And everybody knows that the current energy prices are not going to sustain at such a low prices for a longer period of time. Everybody agrees that this is going to be changed maybe in 1 or 2 or 3 years from now. So I see, let's say, a return on a good business, on a good possibilities generated out in the Middle East. And for us in AMEC, if I take a look on the Middle East, which is an important market for us, as it is for many of the other companies, we are very much engaged in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, in Kuwait, in other places. And we are setting up a new joint ventures in Qatar and in other countries in the Middle East, which I'm so confident that is going to give us quite a good boost for our business in the region.